セガサターンシロ
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday, Shiro Show. And I got Danthrax with me here.
Yeah.
How you doing, Dan?
Hi, Dave. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I kept your seat warm last week, you know,
Yeah,
because I was
you
over
did.
in your spot, and now I'm over here in Pat's spot.
It's hot, actually. Today's probably like one of the hottest days on record here. Yeah, so
okay. I don't know if that's my fault.
You warmed up the seat a little too much here.
Sorry.
No, we missed Pat, though, this week. He's doing, actually, I don't know what is he doing?
It's work-related.
Okay,
he had like a work meeting or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we miss you, Pat. But he held down the fort last week for me, so, you know, one good turn deserves another, and here we are. Luckily for me, I don't have to fly solo anymore. We've got you as kind of like a staple of the show. Moving forward, I think.
Oh, boy, a staple.
Well,
Jeez.
right? I mean, you are. Look, even your camera looks great. You got your mic sounds good, you know? I think you're good to go, right? And it's nice.
I'm all set up.
It's nice, honestly. It's nice having you around because not only do you write most of the articles, but I mean also
it's not most. I do write a lot of the news, but like you know, like Peter takes care of the little features for different games, and you know, Pat's usually the one who's putting up the podcasts stuff and stuff like that, and sometimes you write about hardware and whatnot. So it's not all me. It's a team effort.
I'm just trying to give you plenty of credit because I think you deserve it.
Fair enough.
But also it's nice because, you know, Pat or I can step away and it's like everything doesn't fall apart, or we don't have to like ad lib for forever.
It might still fall apart though.
it might still fall apart.
Still possible.
But you know, you're like I feel like you're kind of like the example, if you will, of like a fan who came from the community and just like contributed a ton, and here you are, and you're like basically part of the team. You know, I think that's great. You know, it's like I used to early on. I was having to like pull teeth to like get people. I was like, do anybody want to be involved in this? You know, and now it's like we've got folks stepping up and getting involved, and I love it.
It's fun.
Good times.
So what's new, Dave? What's going on?
I'm not even gonna lie. Like I've done absolutely nothing Saturn related. I've played a lot of Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, I've stayed up way too late and played lots of Tears of the Kingdom, and been having fun building stuff, you know, and messing around with that. But other than that, I'm just busier than I've ever been at work. Like doing like popcorn sales for the Boy Scout stuff with my kid. All that stuff. It's just, you know, dadding and then jobbing on the daily. Yeah, dadding and jobbing on the daily, and then when I get a little bit of time, I play Tears of the Kingdom. But yeah, no, I need to get back into playing some Saturn. It's just I talk a lot about Saturn. I just don't get a lot of time to play it these days. What's up, though?
Well, I was gonna say, you know, you have a lot of new translation patches to try out now, as we'll find out later in the show.
I do.
So,
I feel like it's like a backlog almost. Like it's like, okay.
Yeah, I know.
I looked at Derek, so A-Team, our buddy Derek. He has a nice little repo that he keeps and organizes a bunch of stuff, you know, and I'm privy to that. You know, he shared it with me, and once in a while something new pops up there, and I'm like, oh yeah, one more thing that I really seriously need to play. And I'm like, am I gonna break a leg and have to stay home from a week of work or something to be able to do that? Because there's there are translation projects that I still need, like Soldner's Child, or how do you say it? Soldner's Child?
I don't speak German. Pat's the German speaking one.
There's one. There's what is the one that starts with a V? Really good isometric, not Vagrant Story, but it's something like that. Somebody in the comments will know what I'm talking about. I can't. It's not on my tongue. But anyway. There's a really cool isometric strategy RPG that looks very reminiscent of Final Fantasy.
Is that one that Paul Met translated?
Yes, I believe
his team?
So.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I cannot remember the name.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's one, and Sega Lord X has talked it up a ton and said it was really great. The art looks great. I just have not Tactics Ogre, but great call, David Zaney, because there's another one. I have played that before, but yeah, playing it on the Saturn in English would be great. Oh, I forgot to shout everybody out in the chat who's in here. We got 23 people watching right now. We've got Brian Trusty. He was first. Got to get his Saturn news. We got, of course, you. David Zanish, Pudgy, of course, is here helping to produce the show today. She's set up everything on Dan's side.
A camera woman as usual.
Yep. Paul Bort, of course.
That's it.
I think in this whole chat, Paul is probably like the oldest Shiro fan. He's been here from almost like day one. So nice. Shouts, Paul. Of course, our buddy Malenko, game patcher extraordinaire. And then, of course, who else? Neil Henderson. Names I recognize. Trevo. Hey, Trevo, student. How's it going? Slow Coin, of course. Double Dime. Congrats. Double Dime just beat Sega Steve for the Sega Rally Championship. It was very close. It was very close. So that was awesome.
Wasn't less than a second between the two?
Like 0.6 seconds or something like that. So that was really cool. So they're going on to finish that up. And then let's see who else we got. Mike Garcia, Colin Pierce, Kay Hallismer, Dragons of Saturn. We see him regularly on the show. AM25, of course. Vandal Hearts. Thank you, AM. It's Vandal Hearts is the one that I like really need to just get sick or something so I can play that. Have a good excuse, but yeah, I'm just so busy at work. Valhallian is another one. Is that right? Was that a translation as well?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
There's like a handful of translations that have already been finished.
You know where you can go to check what's been translated?
That's
right.
The
section on our website that was just added recently.
I will show folks
it's
right
under
here.
Community.
You just go right on to our website. You just go community right here, and look, Saturn. Well, you can do that way, or you can just do the little tab thingy. And there it is, translations.
Nice.
Saturn translations. Everything right here will lead you to where you need to go for those patches. And
good stuff.
Shouts to Night of Dragon for standardizing the Sega Saturn patcher as the way forward to make patches.
And thanks to Private Eye for maintaining this page or setting it up, right?
Absolutely, yes. Private Eye, he maintains this page in addition to doing a bunch of other cool stuff for the community. So, absolutely. Where were we? Oh, yeah, like basically.
You wanted to play Saturn games and you have no time.
I really do. And I just feel like it's like a backlog because I already have a backlog, and now there's like all these wonderful games that I can play in English, and I just got to find the time. But that's when I recommend that, folks. So if you're not super busy at work like me and you do have time, you should definitely check out Vandal Hearts because from what I've seen, it looks awesome. Yeah, so did I miss anybody? Silos, shouts, Crimson Dragon is in the chat now. So do us a favor, guys. If you can, thumb up the video, teach YouTube what's good, and then maybe, I don't know, share it out on socials or whatever. That really helps. Even if you can't support us financially, you can help point people in the right direction, you know, by liking our show and sharing it out on the socials. Shiro is going to be at PRGE coming up here. And actually, I'm going to segue here. So Shiro has a panel. Shiro has a panel at PRGE coming up here, right? And it's on Saturn Day at 11 a.m. Okay, so if folks are going to be at PRGE, that's awesome. If not, we will record it, and it's all about the community. Actually, it's going to be featuring translations and homebrew, and we're going to go. We're going to deep dive. Well, we only have an hour. Technically, we only have 50 minutes, right? Because there's like, you know, logistics on the front and back end. You get about 50 minutes, and part of that is audience questions. But we are going to try to have some kind of video reel, you know, and be able to talk about the projects that you, the community, have done. So, including a bunch of cool game patches, and then of course localization projects, including complete voice dubs. There's this awesome
Has
team.
anyone really done that? That sounds crazy.
I know, right? Who would actually take the time? And then, of course, amazing original games from the community, including stuff like Blue Skies and Cube Cat and Bridget
and
Bishop.
Now Slide Hop.
And Slide Hop, that's right.
Yeah. The newest one.
Artist previously known as Pony Game, right?
Right. Yeah, I guess it's not that new in a way. It's like... Epona's been working on that game for years.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's come a long way too, because I remember the original, what was it, the 27th anniversary competition, or maybe it was the 26th, I can't remember, but I was playing that on a mode. Yeah, I didn't have my shader. I was playing it on the mode. It was a little janky on the mode just because of the mode. But anyway, but the game was great, and had a lot of physics going on, and you had the moon jump kind of thing, and it was, the slide hoppiness was there. It's just now I think it's more fully realized, so that was great.
Colin Pierce is in chat and says, "LOL, I'm about to add to your backlog. JB Harold has entered final playtesting," and yeah, we saw that in our Discord server earlier this week, and we did get that in the story that we'll talk about a little later in the show. It's super exciting, though. I was actually just playing that a little bit earlier today.
Yeah, that's going on my front log. That's going straight to the front of the log. Because
front log. That's
first of all, I can digest that quicker than an RPG. Yeah. And it's one I've been waiting for a really long time. But I really have been waiting to just like, I want to sit down and I want to experience the whole thing, rather than, like I explained before, I don't want to do the thing I did with Death Mask where I just like was playing it over and over and over again.
Crazy.
And I apologize to Shadow for that, because actually the work that Shadow and Kay did on that was amazing, and I can't thank you guys enough. And I'm probably going to play it again in a few years when I've allowed it to, the memory of it to wear off a little bit and I can experience it fresh. But yeah, like I played it out too much because I was like beta testing it. But anyway, before we get into the articles, I just want to ask you, what have you been doing this past week?
Oh, me. Yeah. Well, I grilled some burgers for Labor Day. We had Labor Day in the United States on Monday.
Yes.
Yeah, and I actually had not pulled out my old grill all summer, so I'm like, I gotta use it at least once, and it might be the last time that I use it this year, because it's old. I've had it for more than a decade, and it's just like this little Weber grill. There's nothing fancy about it. Use the charcoal.
Wait, is it
poor
red?
Thing's rusting. No, it's black.
Oh, I've got a red one that's in the exact same condition. It's 10 years old.
Oh, really?
It's rusting.
Jeez.
The grill on the bottom is just almost disintegrated. It needs to be replaced.
Mine's lost a couple screws. I don't know how it stays up.
Hank Hill does not approve. Oh gosh, that's funny.
Hank Hill does not approve. It's charcoal. Sorry, I like charcoal. I like the taste of it. But
it's great. I love charcoal too.
With it.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, it's probably about time to get a new one and retire this one. So I did some burgers on that for one last time. That was nice. It was nice until the mosquitoes started biting us later in the evening, getting our legs. It was a hot day. And I over the weekend I had my fantasy football draft, which I know is not the most exciting thing to Saturn fans, but it was pretty fun. I'm in like this 10-person group with friends who are mostly from another Discord server that I'm in.
So do you play like DraftKings or whatever that is?
No, God, I don't gamble.
Okay,
no,
right.
It's just like
between. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a fun league on ESPN's site. There's no money involved. It's just bragging rights and trash talking and stuff like that. So it's a good time. Yeah. Now, what's funny is after everyone has drafted, we did a live draft. So we were actually sitting in front of our computers, picking who we wanted. I was sitting there eating something. I forget what I was eating at the time. I was snacking on something. It was like these like pita wafer. They're non-crisps is what they're called. Non-breads, like Indian style bread. No, it's usually like soft. Well, the crisps are usually non is just like soft, like pita bread.
Sure.
These are like crisps. Highly recommended. Really good. I think from Stone Kettle. Anyway, so I was sitting there drafting, and afterward, the website will tell you how it thinks you did. It'll kind of like estimate what place it thinks you're going to get at the end of the year once all the games have been played. Right. And it thinks that I'm going to get 10th place out of 10. It thinks I'm going to get last place. It doesn't like how I drafted it all. But screw ESPN. It doesn't understand that you know something they don't know. Right. That tight end that's riding the bench right now, he's definitely going to get in there eventually, and he's going to do gangbusters for me. ESPN doesn't know.
Could be.
They'll find out.
Could be. I mean,
yeah, it'll be awesome.
Statistics exist for a reason, but But
they play the games for a reason.
For what it's worth, the Padres look great on paper, but they certainly haven't been playing. They certainly haven't been earning the money they're being paid. So I don't know. Anyway, anything can happen, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that was kind of fun. That was something I was up to.
I agree with you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I haven't had a lot of time to play a lot of Saturn this week either. I haven't even been able to play, and I wanted to, the games that came out for Sage last Saturday. I think it was the first day, Friday or Saturday.
Right.
And I downloaded a bunch that I was interested in, including some of those Nights into Dreams homages. That look cool, and I just haven't had time to boot them up and check them out. So
same. Hopefully I will. I've downloaded multiple things, and they're still on the card, and just haven't had a chance to actually fire them up. Yeah, I mean, I know it's cliche, and I say it a lot, but no, I've really next week will even be busier than this week, and then after that, hopefully it'll start to settle down. But how many times have I said that? I keep saying that. No,
something else will pop up.
October is really going to be a lot smoother for me. But then again, I have to plan for a panel, so I won't stop being busy. I'm just going to be a different kind of busy, SHIRO busy. But I agree with you on the charcoal grill, though. I have to say that we had a propane grill. It was really nice, right? It was like this really nice Amana propane grill. We spent a couple $100 on it. Rats ended up getting up in there and doing their turds and all that crap, And I was just like, oh man, no, this is terrible. So with the charcoal grill, you can close the darn thing up all the way around, and they just can't get in there. And I'm not even sure they would. But yeah, it's because those propane grills, there's a lot of grease that drips and stuff, and it attracts pests and stuff. So yeah, we got rid of that.
I just have to hose off the spider webs from my charcoal one every once in a while, because I usually keep it out in the garage. The garage is a little spidery at times.
I hear you. Oh, okay. So we got Trekkies here in the chat now too.
Okay.
Is Shadow Mask not here today? Usually he's doing the.
Yeah, he might be busy. I think he's working a gig. There's an astronaut giving a conference in Detroit, and he's working the sound.
Fair enough.
Hey,
go ahead.
Speaking of chat, I wanted to scroll up real quick because we have AM25 who said me and Shadow, and they mean Shadow Jackal, have been doing some projects, like homebrew projects, like the new Sonic one and the F1 project, which is a racing game. We both have not had time to really work on it, but it's getting there slowly but surely. Yeah, I have seen in the Sega Extreme Discord server some of those updates that they posted, like on the Shadow Jackal has put up the evolution of their Sonic 3D model, and it's looking really good. And some of the stuff they've been doing with doing 3D models for tracks and ground layouts, and it's looking cool. So yeah, I hope that they do find some time to keep working on that. I'd love to play what they put out.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, same here, but I don't want to pressure them. It is what it is. They'll get there when they.
Shadow Mask is in the chat.
Shadow Mask is in the chat. He's lying down on the job. Well, I think he's gonna have a VHS stream tonight, right? So everyone, he can go ahead and paste that into the chat if he wants to promote that. Folks will be able to do movie night with him later on his Twitch.
Trekkies says, I really hope to find time to get a Dance Dance Revolution /Stepmania demo done for the competition. No promises though. Yeah, Trekkies has mentioned in Sega Extreme kind of dabbling with trying to get a music rhythm game running on the Saturn. That would be cool because we don't really have many of those. Isn't there one retail game for the Saturn that's a music rhythm thing?
Well, there's Techno Motor, which is music creation. What would be the one?
Yeah, that's different though. That's not
right. Well, Jung Rhythm. Jung Rhythm is a rhythm game.
Yeah, Jung Rhythm.
But that's not a dancing game. There's nothing with a pad. No, that's for sure. Whereas
I'm not sure Trekkies is going to invent a pad to step on.
Yeah,
I think he just wants to make a rhythm game.
Digital Dance Mix is amazing, but it's kind of like a real glorified tech demo. I guess, but it's pretty. It's pretty, and it really runs very well.
Is DJ Wars a rhythm game? I haven't even checked that one out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure because Trekkies mentioned DJ Wars.
Yeah, he did.
I'd make a PS1 to Saturn converter, like for the pad. Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be pretty neat to try that out.
Cool.
In college, I played some like DDR. Well, there was an arcade in the student union that had an actual DDR cabinet, and that was a lot of fun. But then, like, because it was the early to mid 2000s, it was kind of like mid 2000s when I was in college, and so like lots of people had DDR for their PS2, you know, with the pad, and so I got to dance out a little butterfly now and then. It was fun.
That's cool. We went to a arcade recently. Well, like a burger joint that had an arcade, and there was a dude that came there like he was clocking in to work, you know, like he came there and he had his backpack. He put all of his stuff down. He had like everything kind of set up, and he like got on the DDR machine, and then he just completely owned this machine. Not a single beat missed, you know. It was like, okay, this guy probably like comes here and does this like every night or so, you know, like, and he had a crowd and people wanted to like give him tips and stuff like that. It was crazy. It was like put on a show, but yeah. Some people are like crazy good at that stuff, you know. But yeah, he was like,
I was very casual.
He was the guy that was like leaning back on the bar, and then like his feet were just like flying all over the place, you know.
Yeah, that's such a good technique though. Like that does work, because I mean it's really hard to keep your balance when you're trying to hit all these different you know, spots, but you're still upright. So yeah, when you like hang on to that bar, when you lean behind yourself, that does really help if you can reach. You know,
his feet were just flying. Hey, Captain Hodden, how's it going? Welcome to the SHIRO show and to the chat. I was gonna say something to you, but I completely forgot. But be that as it may, we can get into the news if we want to.
Okay.
Unless you had any other updates. Oh, I was gonna ask you if you had any pickups. I know. So you did pick up a long box. You did pick up a couple games in the previous weeks, right? Sports game or something like that.
Yeah, I gotten Pebble Beach and World Series baseball. I haven't picked up anything in the last week, although I was tempted as we were walking around. We have like this small chain of retro of like well, it's like they sell movies, music, video games, collectibles, and they're called The Exchange. They mostly only exist in Northeast Ohio, but there are a few locations in Chicago and in Indianapolis and Pittsburgh. So they're cool little stores. They have lots of stuff, and the one near me has a pretty good amount of Saturn games. Somebody must have traded in their collection or something. There's a whole bunch of long boxes, some loose games too. I was very tempted to get a long box of Independence Day, which I understand is not a great game, but I like my flight combat games.
Yeah,
it's not a bad game.
It's not bad. It's just beige, you know. It's just kind of bland. It's repetitive, but it's chill. So it's kind of like, what's that other game that I really kind of enjoy despite not being great? It's the
Congo.
I think it's called Daedalus in Japan, not Daedalus in Canada, but Daedalus or Robotica. Yeah, so it's it's like you just kind of chilling, going around, taking out the same repetitive enemies and stuff like that, and it's, you know, but it's fun in small doses. It is, and I think it was originally, it even had like it had a Tyson Link mode that was like hinted in the manual, but then it was never implemented in the code. And it's possible that it exists in there, like buried in the code, and it just like wasn't enabled in the menus or something like that. But like Peter noticed that the manual cites a Tyson Link. You know who did actually have a come up this week was Night of Dragon. He scored an X-Band, a Genesis X-Band modem.
No, that's right.
I think for about $30 or something like that, which is not bad.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, somebody linked everybody to that in our chat, I think, earlier this week.
I did.
You did. Okay, that was you.
Yeah, no, it came up in my it came up in mine, and I was like, oh wow, this is ending very soon, and I was just like, okay, let's see. And it was cart only, which I knew that Knight was looking to get something like it. He was looking to pick up one for cheaper than what they go for, and just get it like cart only. So that worked out.
$30 is what the Exchange wanted for Independence Day complete in box, which, like, I know that isn't like a ridiculous amount of money, I was just like, I don't know. I know that like Independence Day isn't like some kind of must-have game. I just thought it would be cool because I kind of like start collecting the flight games. I have, Wing Arms. I have Thunderstrike. I have Solar Eclipse.
Wing Arms,
stuff like that.
So Wing Arms is a great game. It's great.
No, I'm not saying any of those are bad. I'm just saying I like different flight games. And I was like, well, if Independence Day were like $20, I'd go for it. You know, with 30.
Well, that's just Saturn prices. Honestly, it used to be a $10 to $15 game back in like 2017, 2018, and then now in 2023, just double it. Just take anything that's like used to be a $10 or $15 game and just double it. Malenko knows because from what I understand, he's been picking up a bunch of long boxes. So
yeah, he did. He posted a picture in chat this week. He bought a bunch of games. Some of them, I'm sure, set him back a little bit. Didn't he have like a Street Fighter
Alpha?
Street Fighter Alpha game in there?
Yeah, like Street Fighter Alpha. Yeah, that cost me. That was like $40 when I picked it up because I actually had Alpha 2. And I had 03, but I wanted to go back and get the original Alpha and long box. I think it was like $40. But yeah,
he had Mega Man in there too. And he PM'd me. It was like something like, "You don't want to know how much that Mega Man game cost." I'm like, "Oh man, no, I don't."
Like, sure, you don't want to think about how much you paid either. You just want to like, I'm just moving on. On, just forget you ever had that money. But seriously,
enjoy the game.
Treat it well.
Jeez.
Try to keep it away from too much humidity.
Mega Man 8. Mega Man 8 is what he got. Yeah. Good pickups.
Yeah. So, okay, great. So we're all caught up, I think. And good kudos to you guys for picking up Saturn games in 2023. I think that those are solid pickups, though. What you got, Pebble Beach and World Series Baseball, solid games. Folks should try them out for sure. Those are just like classic Saturn sports games. Getting into, let's see, we'll bring up the browser, and we don't have to go too far. You had the live show last week, which was you and Pat holding down the fort. You guys talked about. In that show, you did talk about the Saru impressions, the Suikoden.
Yeah, we had Emerald Nova with us too, because he was going to announce his the latest competition, the
Which
Saturn game competition. He announced it the next day on Saturday. We were supposed to have an article on the website this week, so I apologize that it's not on there yet. Hopefully, that will be on there soon. You can check emeraldnova.com. Or just go to SegaExtreme.com, and you can get details out of those places about the competition. So,
absolutely, I'm excited. Yeah, like I'm hoping that folks are able to like, I guess, regiment their time and be able to get stuff done, or if they're just gonna like wait till the last minute and then cram, and that's sometimes the way that folks work. But either way, I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that this year is even better than last year. I mean, last year, every year it's gotten progressively better. So we'll see what we can expect this year.
Yeah, I got to get Stellar Assault SS entered in there. I need to type up that submission.
This is true. So, you guys, believe it or not, it seems like it's been forever, but it was actually the demo that you entered last year.
Right, and that was just more of a fun proof of concept type thing. We didn't even really translate anything in the actual demo because there wasn't much to translate. The one thing there was to translate, we actually put different text in there to advertise our own patch instead of what it originally said, which was advertising the game coming out in 1998. So, and then we added a bunch of voice clips that weren't there originally in the demo.
Right.
So this is the year.
This year's there's going to be a lot of heavy hitters, I think. Based on what we saw last year, I think we can expect.
And hopefully everybody who put out translations so far this year submits, because it's beyond it being a competition, it's a great showcase for all the work that people have put in to keeping the Saturn alive all year long. So we got to put Stellar Assault out there, but then I hope that we see Baroque in there, or didn't Tactics Ogre come out this year? That would be cool to see. Some of the other ones, some of the ones that aren't out yet but are out soon, like JB Harold. So
Malenko is suffering from what's that disease where old people forget? Alzheimer's, I guess. He says, I forgot who won the translation group last year. Right.
Some underdog.
Sure you did. Anyway, no, it was great. Great game. I very much enjoyed it. Inside, I guess, I have to say, for anybody who doesn't know, it was Malenko. And he's just having fun with you guys. But yeah, his Tokyo Highway, what do we call it?
Tokyo Highway Battle Drift King 97.
Right, Tokyo Highway Battle.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
Okay,
good translation.
So here's a game, Johnny Bazooka Tone. Have you played it?
Best of Saturn. No, I haven't played it. No, I never have.
This
looks neat though.
I'm not gonna lie. I own a copy of this, and I've maybe put it in my Saturn like a couple of times.
Oh, really?
Yes. And the funny thing is, this game gets a lot of flack, and yet it's one game that there's a few people out there who really enjoy this game. But it does have some like major flaws that kind of hold it back from being like what? really enjoyable. I don't know, some of the platforming feels a bit cheap, and some of the jumps that they want you to make, like blind jumps and stuff like that. And there's just some issues. If you want to, there's an Australian dude, Carter's Reviews. He did a great video. I don't know if folks are familiar with that channel, but he did a bunch of Sega Saturn reviews back in, I don't know, the last decade or whatever. Carter's Retro Reviews, and he did a bunch of Saturn reviews, and he reviewed Johnny Bazooka Tone, and I kind of agree with him too that it's kind of tough for me to play and get into, but it's a cool looking game, and it's got definitely a bunch of like that 90s attitude.
So this is like a 2D platformer, but you can also shoot.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You're running around with your bazooka tone, or you're running around with your guitar that's like a bazooka. And I'll just read what Peter wrote. Early 96, saw Johnny Bazooka Tone land on Saturn. Tough little 2D platformer with some run and gun elements. It sports pre-rendered visuals that scream made in the 1990s. Johnny's out to rescue Anita, his favorite guitar, collecting golden musical notes and shooting them. His favorite guitar. Okay, he's out to rescue Anita, his favorite guitar, by collecting golden musical notes and shooting them out of his bazooka as he goes. The 5 worlds visually remind of Donkey Kong Country, while Johnny's moves and animations harken to Earthworm Jim. Though the game ever achieves the classic status... the game never, I think is what he meant, achieves the classic status of the other titles.
Or do we have a typo?
Yeah, interesting music throughout. Good for platforming fans. Curious of the 28 people that are watching this, do you guys have any memories of playing this game or any thoughts about this game? What I can add to this conversation is very little, to be honest. Mr. Bones ripoff. Yeah.
Okay, I've updated the article to fix the typo.
Cool.
So
here, I'll refresh.
Okay, nice. But yeah, considering one of my favorite games overall, and particularly on the Genesis, is Vector Man. I wonder if I would like this game, even if the platforming is a little suspect at times, as you say. Yeah. But
well, that's just the thing is Vector Man controls really well. Like I feel like Vector Man is just a really solidly built platformer, and
that's one of my favorite
Sky
things.
Made good games.
Yeah.
Blue Sky made good games. Who made Johnny Bazooka Tone? That's the question. Let's see here.
US Gold published it. I put them in the tags.
Okay, right. Yeah.
But I think I looked up real quick who developed it. Yeah, thank you. And I could not, I saw the company and they only did one other thing on the Saturn, so I decided not to tag them below, because I'm like, whatever, we're not going to really be writing about this company too often.
Arc Developments.
Yeah, they did some stuff on the Mega Drive or whatever. But not too much on the Saturn.
Let me see what they did. Yeah, so it was a British game developer best known for developing Johnny Bazooka Tone.
So there you go.
Former Elite employees. Let's see here. What do they got? Don't have a lot in the credits. Specky games like ZX Spectrum, MS-DOS, Atari ST, Amiga, Commodore, like the British development studio that mostly did like microcomputer stuff. They did Arch Rivals on the Genesis and Game Gear. Let's see here. Simpsons, Bart versus the Space Mutants on the Genesis.
A classic.
Couple Simpsons games, Bart versus the World. Terminator 2 Judgment Day on the Game Gear and Master System.
So it sounds like they did a lot of licensed stuff, and this was like their big swing at like their own IP, maybe.
Yeah, believe it or not, Johnny Bazooka Tone made it to DOS, 3DO, PlayStation, and Saturn.
Wow.
Interesting. Oh, World Cup Golf Professional Edition for Saturn. So they did actually go on.
Yeah, that's their other Saturn game.
Their other Saturn game, which didn't come out in the US. It was a British PAL only. So there you go. And I don't know if it's any good, but I doubt it because like there's a handful of good golf games on the Saturn, and everything else is pretty much below par. Wah, wah.
Great one.
Anyway.
Yeah, so I wonder if I would like this, considering like Vector Man, and also I grew up with another platformer in which you shoot, Commander Keen on the PC, because I mean I grew up with PC gaming right alongside console gaming, and I love Commander Keen. That one is not as fluid to control as Vector Man. Vector Man, you can really fly through those levels, and Commander Keen is a lot more slower. Every time you shoot, Commander Keen stops to take a shot. So it's like you have limited ammunition. You die in one hit in that game, so it's like it's a little more measured.
Wouldn't it be amazing? So the current homebrew scene seems pretty focused on tapping into the Saturn's 3D side of things, and there has been like one or two projects that have been like 2D side scrollers or whatever, but for the most part I'm just wondering, like, wouldn't it be amazing if somebody came along and made like a Vector Man 3 for the Saturn, like the Vector Man 3 we all should have gotten, which would be, as forget 3D, just like focus on making like the most badass 2D version of Vector Man, which the Saturn could totally tear through, in terms of like moving sprites and stuff like that.
That would be awesome.
It would be amazing,
That would be super. I would love that. But I mean, it's also, it's hard to put all your time and effort, all the time and effort that would be required to make such a thing and make it decent. And at the end of the day, you're making something that you can't really own. It's someone else's IP. This is
true. That's true. But who? So Blue Sky, they dissolved though. They stopped making. Yeah, I don't know where.
Sure,
that,
I'm sure
it would be
Sega
in some kind of
the
licensing
IP.
limbo. Yeah.
I'm sure Sega completely owns the IP, because I'm pretty sure Sega paid for the game to be made and they published it, and they keep re-releasing Vector Man on the Genesis Mini and in collections for modern consoles and on Steam and stuff. So I'm pretty sure they do own the Vector Man IP. It would be totally a Sega thing.
It's crazy. It's such a great idea and such a great little franchise that.
I know.
They just don't do anything with it, other than those re-releases, and it really is. It's a great idea. Like I realized that at the time, it was like there was this other game that was called like Balls 3D, and the characters were made up of like all those floating balls, and you also had like Rayman with the floating limb, like the floating limbs or floating, arms and stuff like that was really a thing back then. But Vector Man kind of did it best, I think. Like it really kind of crystallized the music, the platforming, all of the extra little like graphical goodies that they forced the Genesis to do. It was kind of very much like
they got so many colors on screen because they used shadow and highlight mode better than probably any other developer
did. Bunch of little
so good.
They used so many like tricks that would be fit right into like the Amiga hacking scene, that kind of stuff. The demo scene. They pushed that console.
When I first saw Vector Man, I was in a Sears. I remember it when Sears used to A, exist, and B, sell video games. I walked up to a Genesis kiosk and Vector Man was on there, and I was just blown away by how it looked, and I played it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is going right on my Christmas list.
God,
it has to.
That original like title screen was like and then you have like all the shit, all of those sprites flying in, and again, like I realized that under the hood, what's going on there is maybe like could easily be explained, and it's not that crazy.
It's a bunch of a bunch of like palette swaps and stuff like that.
It's all about the execution, you know what I mean? It's all about like
the presentation is excellent.
The presentation is everything, and the way that the entire game focuses. It's not just style over substance though either, because the platforming is great, and all the power-ups work great and everything. There's a series that is just like seriously underloved, underappreciated, and
one thing I have to say about that title screen is that every release of Vector Man that's like emulated on modern consoles or on Steam or on whatever, they got the music wrong. Those initial ding 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 ding, like that sound font never sounded right on any re-release until M2 got to it with the Genesis Mini. They finally emulated the Genesis's sound chip in just the right way to make Vector Man's title screen music finally sound right, and I appreciated them so much for that. Yeah, it's like that was like one of the first things I booted up when I got that. I'm like, I have to check Vector Man. I see if they got the music right, and they did, and I was so happy.
So let me get this straight. Because I'm as I get to know you better, I'm taking mental notes of all your favorites. So I know you're a huge Fighting Vipers fan. You love Fighting Vipers. You love Vector Man. You've mentioned it several times. Yes. Any other like mainstays? Any other like absolute favorites?
Well, like Wing Commander, which Malenko knows because he teases me about it in his $2
It's a great game. It's a great game, Malenko.
I almost tweeted like because you and Panda, I think last week or early this week, did that little like chain letter type of a thing on Twitter where it's like, here are 13 games to get to know me. And then you listed 13 different games, which was cool. I thought about tweeting out, I would do this, but my whole list would just be all Wing Commander games.
It would all be Wing Commander games.
Yeah, because they have so many Wing Commander like spin-offs.
Now the movie
that series lived and died in the 1990s.
The movie with Freddie Prinze Jr. is not great, but I still think that Shadow Mask needs to stream that on VHS if he hasn't already.
Yeah, he should. I suggested it to him in his server. I'm like, if I can make his request.
It's still Wing Commander, you know? Yeah, so
the movie's weird, but the games are fantastic. I actually got like sucked in a little bit earlier this week watching YouTube videos about Wing Commander. Just like somebody did like a visual novel style playthrough of like Wing Commander 2, where he's like, here's all the cutscenes. They take out all the combat. Like they had to go into the missions for certain like story related things that happen during missions. And then everything else is just like the talking, which I didn't watch all of it, but it was fun to like revisit it again a little bit. I was kind of like poking around the Wing Commander Combat Information Center fan site, which is just a gigantic website full of information about Wing Commander. Just kind of thinking about it a little bit. I love those games.
I came to the series through Wing Commander Prophecy. Their
last game.
So I actually came to it backwards because they and my library used to rent out games and stuff, and they'd even rent out PC games that you could like install on your. Yeah, it was weird. It was like
that's kind of wild.
You could install it on your PC, but if you didn't have the disc, you couldn't run it after you know, unless you like copied the disc. You could copy the disc,
right? Which was less common to do in the 90s.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like everybody, I don't know, like if not everybody's library is created equal or whatever, but growing up in Reno, Nevada, like our library would rent everything. Like it would rent Saturn games, for goodness sake, which means that they were buying video games at that time, and they probably just thought Sega, right? Like that's the thing, is the library system was like, oh, what games should we buy? Oh, let's buy Sega games because that's a name we recognize, right? They didn't do carts though. Like they didn't rent out cartridges, so you didn't see like that's Nintendo weird. 64 games at my library, but they did discs. You know, they did audio CDs, and then they would do any kind of like CD software. So there was a section you could go to in my library where you could rent video games on CD and later DVD, right? And so
I think that renting video games is like a more recent thing. I think it's kind of common with libraries now. I know our library does do that, but they didn't do that in the 90s as far as I know. So that's kind of interesting that yours did back then.
All the way back in 95, I think they started doing it, like with stuff like Myst. It was maybe it was some kind of regional thing that they were pushing for or something like that. But I just took it for granted. I was just like, okay, our library system has Saturn games, and so we'll check. I say rent, but it was really checking them out, because you could go rent games at Blockbuster, but that was kind of expensive proposition.
Why do that when the library has it for free?
Well, they didn't have everything. That's the thing. They didn't have everything, but they did have some good stuff. I checked out Panzer Dragoons Vi like 10 times back to back, and nobody cared. I didn't have any competition. There wasn't anybody else looking to rent Saturn.
Nobody else had a Saturn, sadly. Jeez.
But there you go. So I don't know what we were talking. Wing Commander Prophecy. That's how I came to the game, and then like kind of went backwards. And the whole series is cool. Yeah, I like it a lot. I agree with you. Great game. I also liked Colony Wars, which was more real time. It was just Colony Wars was a great franchise
on PS1.
On PS1. Exactly. Did it very well. Did the whole space combat thing very well. But Stellar Assault.
That's one thing that I like about Stellar Assault SS. Like, it just feels very influenced by Wing Commander. And Wing Commander did come out in Japan. Quite a few of those did come out in Japan. Not just they didn't just have it available on PC, but it was like ported to the 3DO, which was of course bigger in Japan. There were a couple of Wing Commander games on the Super Famicom and the Super Nintendo. I think there were some like more like Japanese computers. Maybe the PC-98 CD had some Wing Commanders. So they definitely would have been exposed to the series. So I've never asked director Tsuchida, who of course we follow each other on Twitter, which is super cool of him. I've never asked him like, hey, did you like play Wing Commander before you made this game? Like, was that an influence? But like, I feel like it probably was, because there's a lot of elements that they share with like the
Wing
banter
Commander
with the
and Star Fox. Wing Commander and Star Fox. Like actually, I think that Star Fox probably took a lot of inspiration from Wing Commander as well in that way, like the radio chatter and stuff like
possibly.
That before. And I mean, of course, even Treasure with Radiant Silvergun, they kind of worked that into the whole thing. You get you pumped for the mission,
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other games that did it very wrong, like what was on 3DO. It was Shock. I forget what it was called. Something Shocks. But it's this game where you're driving around in the craft and the lady keeps talking to you on the intercom, and you're just like, shut up. So it gets to a point where it's just like, I want to do that before the mission, and then I want to focus on the mission rather than having you, or like Cybermorph, where it's like, where did you learn to fly? Like the whole time.
Just taunting you.
Yeah.
So there's a game on PC which we got like the prototype of it for the Saturn couple years ago, The Last Dynasty. Do you remember that one? Yeah, which is like a space combat game. We had that on PC when I was a kid, and my dad and I bounced off it so fast. Luckily, we got it on clearance or something, so we didn't pay a whole lot for it. But because like the very first mission keeps getting interrupted, like it'll completely go away from gameplay to a cutscene to like FMV, and it would keep doing that. And it's like every time it would finally go back to gameplay, you're like, what was I doing? What was I shooting at? And then you're trying to, and it's like, just as you're starting to line up that enemy after getting disoriented for a minute, you're about to start shooting at him, and all of a sudden, cutscene again. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, that's the most frustrating thing. I don't know if the Saturn version does that.
It does to a degree. Like it
okay.
It drove
us crazy.
It kind of like. It's kind of like the sacred pools of spaceship. Well, actually, that's even deeper. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that they're both like unreleased prototypes. But like basically Last Dynasty was like an unreleased Saturn prototype for like the longest time. Right. A few people had a copy of it, and then it leaked out, and it's like the rest was history. And everybody's been able to play that.
I'm glad we've got it, even though it's kind of Crusoe
for historical purposes, and it's not terrible. Neither is Sacred Pools, but it's not perfect either. Right. You definitely get a sense that it wasn't like fully realized And there's a really good chance that that's probably why they didn't release it. Aside from Saturn not doing so well in the West, it probably wouldn't have sold enough to make up for. So that's the thing, is it's like, you remember that what was the Hideki Sato interview where he's talking about how they just didn't want to sell Saturns because for every Saturn they sold, they would lose like 100 yen.
They lost money.
Or what was it? No, I'm sorry, like $100, right? They would lose like $100 for every piece of hardware that they sold.
10,000 yen.
And so it was like a feedback loop, because, you know, if they weren't selling Saturns and third parties were hearing about it, then third parties were like, well, I'm jumping ship from that. I'm not, right. They're curbing sales, so we're not going to sell any games. But they need those game sales in order to, right? Well, I mean, a company that like goes through all the motions and develops this game and gets ready to publish this game, and now the presses are warming up and they're like, should we go ahead and print like 100,000 copies of this? Are we going to sell 100,000 copies? Because if we don't, we're literally just, flushing cash down the toilet. And that's, you'd get like these crazy situations where the game was completely developed and completely ready to go. And then they would just like turn out the lights and be like, nope, we're not going to do it. Because even though we've paid the staff and, they've developed it, if we publish it right now, we will lose money. It's better to just not even release it. That's as sad as it sounds from a business standpoint. Yeah, just write it off. Yeah. Write it off as like a tax thing. Yeah, exactly, because it's basically like a loss. But essentially, yeah, if they pull the trigger and they go and print it, it could be like a Gen War, like it could be like one of those situations where
they sold 3,000 copies.
We made a bunch of copies of this. It costs us like X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we've sold like 3,000 of them. So yeah, it's really sad, but that's the game industry for you. At least an aspect that I didn't understand at all when I was 15, but like, so I was just a super fan who was just like, why won't they release this game?
Yeah,
exactly. All right, well, I'm gonna let you, so I'll sit back here and I'll let you go ahead and take us through this saga here of band translations
thing. Okay,
beautiful little thumbnail you did there. I like it. Composite.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
getting better.
Thanks. Hold on. The website's fighting. I'm trying to pull it up on my laptop here, and it's like, oh, WordPress, you want to edit that thing you just edited? Like, no. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this was our this is kind of taking the place of the news roundup this week, because all of the news this week was pretty much these updates on fan translations of Saturn games. So I was like, all right, well, we'll just do a progress report on all these Saturn fan translations happening. There have been quite a few. So the first one we'll mention is adventure game JB Harold Blue Chicago Blues, which we have covered a number of times on the show and the website. Its English patch is apparently complete, as was mentioned in our YouTube chat here earlier in the show today. And it's going to release any day now, according to lead developer Arjak. Arjak said Monday in the SHIRO Discord server that he's testing a release candidate on real hardware with his satiator. And he said that barring any surprises, the finished patch should be available fairly soon. I don't know if he can give us any new updates on timetables with that in chat. I think he's just still testing it to make sure it all works well. I was playing it in the BizHawk emulator, which has become my new emulator of choice.
Oh, really?
For the Saturn. Yeah, I love that it just uses my Xbox controller out of the box. No other emulator has done that. All the other ones are like, they don't use the controller at all, or it's really wonky. And BizHawk makes it super easy. Like it works right away. The buttons were a little weird, but it makes it super easy to remap them. So yeah, I was playing JB Harold on BizHawk earlier, and it was running well, looking good.
Does
FMV,
it do any of that? Any of those other bells and whistles, like in terms of like upscaling or
I don't think
resolution or anything like that?
It's basically like Midnaffen.
It's like Midnaffen. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think Midnaffen upscales 3D assets.
Is it like
the
a
way
fork?
that like Yabause does?
Yeah,
I think it's a fork.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know the full history. I really didn't know anything about BizHawk until fairly recently, a month or two ago, and someone, probably Night of Dragon, suggested BizHawk, and I'm like, maybe I'll download that and try it out, and I ended up liking it a lot. So yeah, BizHawk, good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, so anyway, with JB Harold, the last update was in late July when he finished Chapter 3, and you can go to Sega Extreme's resource section to download that version of the patch right away. And of course, it uses Knight's Sega Saturn patcher utility. Yeah. So nice and easy. It's a 2-disc thing, so the patch comes in a zip file with 2 SSP patch files. So you just have to like pick one for disc 1, and then you load up disc 2, and you do the disc 2 patch. So still, just takes a couple minutes. Nice and easy. So
and for I think everybody, I always assume everybody knows, but I know that's not the case. So for folks that don't know, this of course is entry into the JB Harold series, which is a series of like hard-boiled detective novel, kind of games that would precede Hotel Dusk 215. That series, at least a couple of the creators, producer and developer from that team, Riverhill Soft, would go on to do those games. It's very like, it's just dripping early 90s, maybe late 80s, early 90s kind of, and it's that Chicago, hard-boiled detective kind of thing. I don't know, a lot of this is just got a vibe to it, right?
The jazzy music's great.
Oh yeah, the jazzy music, all that stuff. It's just exactly, it's like these Japanese developers or whatever, what they imagine, an American detective,
right?
And of course you could tell their influences come from, a lot of like buddy cop stuff and then like Maltese Falcon, noir stuff and everything, so they've been influenced by a lot of stuff. And so it's kind of like, it's just got a lot of character to it.
Yeah, it does. And Colin Pierce says in chat, yes, I can give an update. I just fixed a couple mistakes and recompiled the patch today. So there you go. He says, don't bother downloading the old patch from July. Just wait a few days.
Just wait a few days. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Well,
we'll make sure to write up something for the website when that happens next week.
Excellent. And we'll be able to talk about it at PRGE too, and we'll be able to show folks hopefully like a good video demo reel of the finished stuff.
That'd be great.
That'll be great. Okay, awesome.
So our next game is Silhouette Mirage, which of course debuted an incomplete English patch last month in August, a few weeks ago, and they already have another updated patch out now. This one translates the tutorial through the start of Area 3. I think before it was just the tutorial and Area 1. So they've now finished Area 2 and the beginning of Area 3. And there are 7 areas total in the game. So they're not quite halfway done, but they are getting there. They're making good progress pretty quickly. Grigory Rasputin said in our Discord server that some areas have branching dialogue, which makes them effectively twice the work to translate. Area 2 was one such area. Areas 3 and 6 feature divergent dialogue as well. So that's been making for a little extra work for them, and they've already gotten through one of those hurdles already with Area 2. So it's great.
I see. Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. Cool.
Next, we have do you have any thoughts on that, Dave?
Oh man, I just think it's awesome. I think Silhouette Mirage is a beautiful game. I think folks are going to find out more what I think about it on the next podcast that's coming.
Nice.
Which will go up to, well, actually, I think we've got one before. I think we've got another one that'll go before that one, because we're so like stacked up with the mainline cast. But I just think that it's a game everyone should try. Definitely, if you're a Treasure fan, you probably already have. But if you aren't a Treasure fan, or maybe you've only played one or two Treasure games, you should definitely try it. It's just that it is more demand. It is definitely a harder game, I think, to come to grips with with something like Guardian Heroes or something like that. But I think it's amazing that they're translating it. Definitely is going to make it more enjoyable for folks to play, for sure. I'm excited about it for sure.
So our next one is a surprise translation effort for Street Fighter 03.
Nice.
Which of course only came out in Japan, sadly, because it was one of the last Saturn games. Really, it came out like the summer of 1999, like August or something, 99. So it was pretty late. But Malenko is working on that one of Fire Pro Wrestling and Drift King 97 fame. Among some of the other things he's worked, because he's also got his fingers in a few other pies, like Bomberman Fight and Terra Fantastica.
Oh my God, yeah. And
Malenko cannot be stopped.
He's making dreams come true here. I have to ask if he's still in the chat and can answer to this. Do you plan on localizing the title? Are we going to make this Street Fighter Alpha 3? Or is that even possible with the crystal tile and everything? Or is that kind of baked in? I don't know. But that's what I wonder, is would we be looking to completely localize it over to Street Fighter Alpha 3? Is what I'm curious. That would be interesting.
Says, and Mobile Suit Gundam. So I will mention that I did not write about Mobile Suit Gundam in this article, but I'll say on the show here that Mobile Suit Gundam is being worked on by a small team. The Mobile Suit Gundam Saturn game, not the I think they're like called side stories or something, but the one that's just called Mobile Suit Gundam.
Mobile Suit Gundam.
And it's kind of like a game based on some of the OVAs, I think, that they came out with. And so that team is working to pretty much take those English dubbed or maybe subbed, I'm not sure which they're doing, but they're taking the English version of those OVAs and they're inserting them where they need to go into the Saturn game. So that's cool. I didn't write about it because they haven't put anything out publicly yet. It's just kind of a small effort that's just starting up right now in Shadow Mask's Discord server, but we'll definitely keep you all apprised on that as it progresses, because there's lots of Mobile Suit Gundam fans out there who are probably going to get a big kick out of that.
And those are games that I think a lot of people would enjoy if there wasn't a language barrier there, because you know that I think tends to be a little story heavy too, because it's
definitely
got a bunch.
So back to Street Fighter 03. The translation is very early. It was he just has some main menu and world tour save data text turned into English right now. But still, he does have a patch available on the Sega Extreme resource page. You can download it there and try it out for yourself. I think he's still poking around with it. He said it's not like his main focus right now. It's not an active project.
I don't know how he's got so many irons in the fire. I don't know how.
I think he gets curious about games, so he pokes around with them, does a little bit of work with them, and he's like, okay, I did this work here. It's out in the world. Someone else can enjoy it.
So part of the process for folks who don't know is kind of probing these games and to see how easy it is, right? And then once you know, oh, this is a slap job, this is going to be like a really quick job, you can kind of prioritize that and get it out, right? That's what I've come to probe.
Yeah, as you probe games, you start like realizing, okay, here's where this bit of text is. Here's where they're keeping all their movie files in this folder, that sort of thing. And then you start kind of maybe writing stuff down in a notepad document and figuring things out. It's like a puzzle. Right. Where did they have all this stuff in this game? And as you figure that out, you kind of realize, okay, maybe I can change this. And okay, I figured out the color palette for this screen, so I can maybe mess around with this crystal tire. Yeah, and so then you just
you cram a couple nights in a row and then you're done. Like that's how some of these projects have been. I'm not like that's not typical. Some of these projects are like take whole teams and it takes several months, right? And then some of these projects, it's really just kind of figuring out. Oh, okay. This is actually quite straightforward, and and I've seen a couple folks in the community do that, where they're just like, okay, well this is done, like a couple weeks or something, and they're like, this is done because that wasn't that hard, But yeah.
So Malenko said he's going to keep working on the world tour quotes a little bit more. I guess this is all came from someone that he saw on Reddit named Miku Matt, who asked whether an English patch existed for Street Fighter 03. And Malenko was like, well, I was poking around with it a little before. I could do something with it. So here you go.
Yeah.
So that made that person very happy, I guess.
It's one of those games where there hasn't, as great as it is, there hasn't been much of a reason, to for anyone to go to the trouble of translating it just because of how playable it is in English, when games are like.
And did it? It got a port to the Dreamcast. Did that come out in North America?
It did, didn't it? As Alpha 3. Yeah, it came out as
Right,
Alpha
yeah,
3.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah. So we've
I thought
had
it
it
did.
in
So
English.
that's probably another reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. We have it in English. So
well, like so the Saturn is a niche console. It's in English elsewhere. It's perfectly playable on the Saturn in Japanese, you know. So it's like, yeah, there's been very, very little reason. But I'm sure everybody would be thrilled anyway. Like if we had it in, at this point, it's kind of like, you know, doing it just so we can say that we did, right? You know,
right, just so we can say we've added another game to the Saturn library. We got it in
English on the Saturn. No thanks to Sega, you know, or Capcom for that matter.
Right. So that's it for our English translations.
Right.
But we do have a French patch that is almost complete for Deep Fear.
Nice.
The prolific fan translator Kitchen34, who has done a whole bunch of French and a few Spanish fan translations of Saturn games in the last year. He is working on Deep Fear. He's been posting about it on the French retro gaming forum Delta Island. I'm working on it for a couple of months. He works so fast, it stuns me how quickly he gets this stuff done. So just in a couple of months, he says he's already at 99% finished the Deep Fear. They just have a few bugs and a few like script things that they're kind of going back and forth over whether they want to change the wording on some things.
Right.
But yeah, I've got on the website in our story about all this, I have a few screenshots of the translated screens into French, as well as a video that Kitchen put up a couple weeks ago where he said he was at 85% completion. So you can check all that out. And of course, Deep Fear also got a Spanish translation patch back in July. And speaking of Spanish, a group is translating the Saturn, PlayStation, and PC versions of Tomb Raider and Rayman into Spanish. And they gave an update on their progress last weekend. So a person named Suikaze Raider wrote on the Tomb Raider Translation Spain website that a person named Lex Housens has finished recreating instrumental music and sound effects heard during Tomb Raider's cutscenes. And he needed to do that so they could combine it with a new Spanish dub, which is something I will add that our bulk/English team had to do as well. When we went to redub the cutscenes for that, all of the sound effects and music were all just combined with the same audio as the Japanese voice acting. So if we wanted to add an English dub, we had to just completely erase all of that sound and try our best to recreate the music and the sound effects, which of course we had, a great team working on that, including Shadow Mask in the chat. Worked on some of the sound effects and the sound mastering and that sort of thing. So, and we were able to recreate the music there and then get our English dub combined with it. And so that looks like that's what they're doing here for Tomb Raider in Spanish. So that's super cool. That should make things much nicer for Spanish speakers when they play the game, rather than just looking at subtitles on the video, which of course sometimes that's your only option if you can't manage to dub things. Now, this Tomb Raider Translation Spain group is working with a voice acting group named Nice Studios, spelled N-A-I-S. Right. And they say that they are they're a group of trained voice actors who do nonprofit work for practice. So they're going to be doing the dubbing. So that's super cool. They found a group willing to do that.
Cool.
So I guess they've already pretty much gotten all of the text in the game, all the on-screen text finished. They just have to do the dub now. And they are doing a similar thing for Rayman. They're going to do a Spanish dub for Rayman on the Saturn as well. And I think on the PS1 as well. So that is super cool. They're very ambitious. And you can download some in-progress patches for Tomb Raider and Rayman over on their Tomb Raider Translation Spain website, which we link to in our story on the website. So there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of work being done in the last week and in the last month on fan translations to the Saturn. It's good to see the community staying alive.
Excellent. And more to come in this at the end of this year, I imagine. And I wonder,
Yes.
of course, this is what we know about. There might be some hush projects that end up getting shadow dropped, but for the most part, this is what we are privy to. Every once in a while, there is somebody who comes like out of the woodwork and is like, "Here, I'm translating this," and it's like we know about it like right before it gets dropped, but that's rarely the case.
And there are other projects being worked on right now that just haven't had an update in the last week, so I didn't mention them. And we talked about Mobile Suit Gundam. Of course, Sakura Wars 2 is being worked on, and that group stays very private. So, I can tell you that there is still they are still plugging away on that and making great progress and getting there. I just didn't mention in the article because they don't really have like a front-facing. I mean, I think Noah Stream is their go-to person for communications, and he hasn't publicly posted about the translation project in a while. So, I didn't mention that.
Do you know if their goal?
Also, I think. Oh, go ahead.
Do you know if their goal is to be entering in the contest or not?
Yeah, it is. It's all depending on whether they actually finish by the end of this year or if it bleeds into next year. But yeah, I'm sure they want to be in the contest because I mean they translated the Sakura Wars 2 demo disc and entered that into the competition.
Right. Yeah.
Which was awesome, and that was an actual translation, unlike our Stellar Assault SS demo disc, which we just played around with.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
So Conan's working on Lunar. That's right. That project was being worked on as well.
I think Lunar 1 and 2.
And didn't Miss T sometime back say that they were working on Lunar Magic School?
Yeah.
So, and that's, I don't know where that is at this point.
Yeah, Misty doesn't give too many public updates, but they are working on Magic School Lunar still, I presume. And Trekkies is working on
Soul Hackers demo.
Soul Hackers. Oh, you got Soul Hackers demo ready, he says. Maybe. That would be cool. Get that. I have most of the script where it needs to go. Need to work on the variable width font system. Okay.
Gun Griffin 2 never got finished. Sam said it's still very much a work in progress, but you can download and play what's available, which I think, so it's that.
And I think all the missions are translated in Gun Griffin 2, so it's pretty playable right now.
Yeah, it's pretty playable, but there's a lot more. When I asked him, he said there's a lot more that he wants to do with it. So,
Grandia Digital
Museum.
I have all of the tools ready to go. Need a translator, said Trekkie. So
who wants to? Nice to see. We're soliciting right now for a translator for Grandia Digital Museum. Who wants to help out with that?
Yeah,
I'm guessing he needs a real human breathing translator, not just like a machine translation. Somebody who can get nuance. But yeah, that would be great. There's a lot on that disc, Grandia Digital Museum, and isn't there another disc too? Help me out, Trekkies. There's 3 Grandia discs on Saturn, right? You got Grandia, of course, which you did, Grandia Digital Museum, and the Prelude disc. That's right. So
isn't that just a demo disc? I guess that's the he said Soul Hackers demo.
Oh, okay. So that was just the okay. I got
it's just a demo. It's not like a separate thing.
But Digital Museum, there's a lot to it, from what I understand. It's pretty packed with content. Yeah, that'd be amazing. So
there you go.
Awesome.
Lots happening still. So and then of course Bomberman Fight is being worked on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bomberman Fight is a lot of fun, honestly. So there's another game on the Saturn. What is it? Bomberman Wars. I don't know if there's any interest in translating that, but Bomberman Fight is definitely the better game. Even though they're completely different games, but Bomberman
Fight,
Wars
is like an RPG.
Yeah, it's like an RPG, right? So Bomberman Fight though is just very accessible. It's a lot of fun. It's multiplayer. It's just a blast. So I'm glad that he's translating it. Anything else you want to talk about in regard to translations, patches, hacks?
I don't think so.
No,
I think that does it.
Excellent. Well, head on over to Sega Saturn SHIRO, you guys, and check out the community page where you can take a look at translations, homebrew, online play, getting your Saturn online. The community is growing. Folks are picking up picking up their modems. They're getting online. Double Dime is running our tournaments, and I can imagine we're only going to have more as more people file in and get their setups going with that. You can also check out Saturn references in film and TV, basic pop culture references. So the community is doing a lot of cool stuff, and will continue to do. But yeah, no, this is great. I'm glad we were able to have this little almost like community focused.
Yeah, it's a nice tab. I'm really glad that that's on RS. This episode.
I mean
yeah,
your article.
Yeah,
your article was great. We gave us a good excuse to be able to talk about all this stuff too.
Yeah.
So I'll pull down the browser there. So any comments that we missed? Sorry, what?
Hey, am I coming through?
Oh, you are. Hey, Pat is in his car. It sounds like.
No, Pat.
What's up, Pat?
Okay, hi.
Hey, just finished up my work event thing, so I was gonna watch the live stream, but I saw you guys were still live, so I thought I'd hop in.
Yeah. So what? So you're done at work and now you're going home?
I had to drive down to Phoenix.
Oh, not. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a meet up in Phoenix, so it was like I said, it was an all day. It was like an award thing and then like a happy hour thing. So it was like we literally just finished up, so I thought I'd hop on and I was actually gonna watch the live stream, but I saw you guys were still live, so hopefully the show went well.
It went well. It went great.
Okay.
We missed you, but hang out with us while we thank all of our patrons and whatnot. Thanks for everybody who joined the chat.
Sure.
I think we had 40 listeners at the top, or 40 watchers at the top of the thing. Now we're down to 30,
Thanks.
but it is the end of the show. We're gonna wrap things up with our patrons, which I do have here. I can actually, I'm prepared this time here. Let's see here. Except I've lost Dan. I've lost Dan.
Oh,
no.
there I'm back.
But is he gone now?
If you want, I can read it live. I got the list. I'll read it while I'm driving. That's sure safe, right?
It's okay. I'll get him back. I'll get Dan back. Here we go. There we go.
I want to thank our patrons: A Murder of Crows, Emerald Nova, Johannes. I'm just joking.
He's told you actually have it. Let's see.
Memorized.
Okay. Go ahead, Pat. I want to see if you have it memorized. I'm looking at the list right now, in alphabetical order.
So in alphabetical order, I can't promise that, but I'll try my best.
A Murder of Crows.
So thanks to our sponsors: Murder of Crows, Emerald Nova, Johannes Fetz.
He's jumping around.
Blue Moon 95. Yeah, like I said, I don't have it memorized alphabetically. I just know the names. Emerald Nova, Johannes Fetz, Blue Moon 95, Jim Clasher Rank, Shadow Mask, I think is on that list now too. He just went up to the 10-1.
20.
And then I think Young Money Sweet. Oh yeah, thank you. And Young Money Sweet is on there as well. And then there's a lot of other ones. So
there's a lot of other.
I tried to get.
I will help you out.
Yeah,
so
I missed a bunch of them.
We got Kay, A Murder of Crows. We got our own Jacob, Blue Moon 95, Cerulean. We got Chris Piper, aka Pipe Dreams Games. Go check out his work. It's great. Chris 1997 XX or double. What was that like? Straight edge? I think it was like folks used to put like double
Chris
X's.
Triple X Union. Get on DVD now.
Chris 1997 double X. We got Daniel Fredrickson, of course. David Zaney. David Zaney's with us every week in the chat. I love it. We've got Emerald of Derek Pascarella, aka A Team. Wonderful guy. And Emerald Nova, of course, with us from the very beginning. Fat Drunk Friend Otaku. We've got Gem Clasher Rank. We've got Johannes Fetz, Mr. Joe Engine himself. We got Justin. We got Mamdu or Memphis and Nate Lawrence. We got Normal Guy. He's just a normal guy. Nutrageous, who Pat met at the recent expo. Great guy. Robert Ramsey.
Nice guy.
Rowan Dinked. We got Sega Steve, who was almost beat Double Dime at Sega Rally, but just missed it by that much, you know? Close, but no cigar. Shadow Mask, of course. Awesome. Shadow Mask is having a VHS stream tonight on his Twitch, so check that out. Stone Man, and then we've got Tanuki Trev and Young Money Swee. A lot of these guys have been with us since the beginning. So we really, really appreciate you guys for supporting us at that $10 and up level, getting your name shouted on the show. Yeah. And then for everybody, there's numerous people who support us as well financially at the $1, $3, or $5 We appreciate you guys too. And for everybody who can't afford to support us financially, but you guys are there. You guys are in the comments. You're in our Discord community, Talking Saturn. You're part of the conversation, and you help share us on social media. We really appreciate you guys too. That's what this is about. This is about community. We want this community to grow. We want folks to find out about the Saturn. We want folks to play their Saturn, and they don't necessarily have to buy long boxes. If that's how you go, if that's how you get down, and you like spending a bunch of money like Malenko on these long boxes, beautiful long boxes. He showed me a picture of his recent pickups. That's got to be like $1,000, right? Maybe more than that, more than $1,000. But I mean, even if you can't afford
you don't even need to buy you don't need to buy any Japanese ones.
Grab yourself a Saturn and grab yourself a Saturn and a Pseudo Kai cart and just burn CDs, burn baby burn, and play that way, or get yourself an ODE for a little over $100. You can be out the door and just downloading games and putting them on an SD card. The point is that you play the Saturn and that you share your experiences with folks in the community. And if you enjoy it, you can get more involved by working on translation projects, homebrew projects. You can get online and join tournaments. You can write stories about it and submit them to us. I mean, if they're good, I'd be down to publish. I'm interested in what in memories folks have about the Saturn and in stories they have to share. I think we had one guy, gosh, now I forget if it was Young Money Sweet. It might have been him, or it might have been one of our other members who submitted a story to our website a while back, and we published it. It was great, talking about like the year he spent with Saturn, getting back into it. So yeah. Anyway, that's my like run on spiel. But anyway, we appreciate everyone in this community, and I just I'm glad that it continues to grow.
Yep, it's good to see all the conversation we have going on in the Discord server. It makes it every single person in there makes it a lively place and makes it a lot of fun. So
absolutely. What are you doing tonight, Dan? You got just regular dinner, any movie night or anything like that?
Yeah, Bunny heated up some of the buffalo chicken dip that she made earlier this week, and it smells really good, and it's making me really hungry. It's kind of killing me over here, so it's going to be dinner time. And then, Shadow Mask said that he has chosen Twister for his movie night over on his Twitch, and he did confirm Wing Commanders next week, so I'm very excited about that. It's good to hear
Twister is a great movie. I actually saw that originally in the drive-ins, and then there's a scene in the movie where they're at the drive-ins and it just gets like torn up. Oh no! Yeah, so that was a great way. Yeah, it was like it was actually like a double header, like Twister and Jurassic Park. So they had a pretty good double feature. Yeah, and they had like the audio on really loud, so it was like thumping. You could hear everybody's like bass in their cars. It was a great memory from I don't know, 97 or whatever. Yeah, nice. But yeah, so that's awesome. What are you doing tonight, Pat? Oh, he left. Okay.
No, did we lose Pat?
We lost Pat. It's okay.
He's driving home. That's what he's doing.
Well, shouts to everybody. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today for SHIRO Show. Until next time, This has been SaturnDave and Danthrax reminding you that you must play Sega Saturn. And we'll catch you later. セガサターンしろ。 Oh yeah, we forgot to remind everybody that tomorrow is Dreamcast Day. So
yeah,
play your Dreamcast too.
Do that.
This is gonna end up as like a blooper outro. But yeah, tomorrow is 99.99. So it's 99. So
9923 anyway.
That's right, 9923 Dreamcast Day. Do it. Catch you guys later.
Yes.